H1N1 vaccine. I just want to hold up the Elkhart truth here. The big headline across the top, should you get a swine flu shot? And if so, which one do you get? Alarming statistics this past week, 76 pediatric deaths, almost catching up to what we've seen in recent years for the seasonal flu, with months left in the flu season. Why, I guess many parents would ask.
Yeah, we are concerned. More children have been dying recently, and it's because it's a new strain of influenza that we really aren't protected against. So everyone's at risk, and unfortunately, children are taking a toll on from the virus. And
you have 7 more months in the flu season, and you have skepticism and rising skepticism among American parents as to whether getting the vaccine is a good idea. I want to show you this poll. I know you're familiar with it. Would you grant permission for your child to get the H1N1 flu shot at school? Likely, 59%, unlikely, 38%. What happens to the magnitude of the public health problem if 4 in 10 children don't get this vaccine?
Well, you know, it's a really important time right now. Parents need their questions to be answered. It's normal for people to want to get their questions answered before they make decisions about the health of their children. As a doctor and a public health expert, I've been looking at the facts, and the risk of influenza, including severe complications from influenza, is a lot higher than any theoretical problem with the vaccine.
And higher than any theoretical problem, and yet there seems to be there's a mistrust across the political spectrum of government institutions. Why is it, do you think, many Americans, many parents aren't quite sure? Number one, it's new.
Well, you know, a lot of people are saying it's new, but it's important to know that the seasonal flu vaccine is made exactly the same way as this H1N1 vaccine. 100 million people, including a lot of children, get the seasonal flu vaccine every year, and it has a really good safety record. So I think parents are wondering, is this something new? Has it been fully tested? What I can say is that everything we know right now suggests a very good safety profile for the vaccines.
Let's put to you some of the questions we're getting on Facebook and on Twitter. Here's one from Cameron Cools on Facebook. How far apart should an individual wait before he or she gets both the seasonal flu shot and the H1N1 vaccine, and should the mist be avoided if you're receiving both?
Well, what we found out recently from the NIH was good news about the shots. It's fine to get the seasonal flu shot and the H1N1 shot on the same day, at the same visit. With the sprays or the mists, we don't think you should get a seasonal spray and a seasonal mist, an H1N1 mist at the same visit. They should be spread out about 3 weeks, but it's just fine to get 2 shots or a shot in the mist on the same day.
Okay, here's another question from Mount Golden Eagle. This one's from Twitter. My 5-year-old son has asthma. Should I get the H1N1 shot, and should I be more concerned about exposure to H1N1 than the regular flu?
Right now, what we're seeing is virtually all H1N1, and we think it's very important for children with asthma to get the vaccines, both the H1N1 vaccine and the seasonal vaccine. We may not see seasonal strains for some time. They may come in December to May, their usual season, but we know that the H1N1 strains are already here. So I think it's children with asthma have suffered disproportionately, and it's great that the parents are asking about that, because vaccine's the best way to protect your children.
And here's another one. You mentioned we're seeing H1N1. Here's from Clopas now. Both my kids' school classes have had multiple cases of H1N1. Is there any point in getting vaccinated now?
You know, I hear that a lot. It turns out that only about 5 to 10% of people, even in the very affected communities, have already gotten this infection. So the vast majority of people are still at risk. We think vaccines are the best way to protect yourself and your kids from this virus.
Help with context. If you've had 76 pediatric deaths already, and you're watching the data come in about this spreading across the country, and it is so very early in the flu season, what is your projection now about how bad of a pandemic are we looking at?
You know, with influenza, it's really hard to make predictions. I hope we will not have a lot more pediatric deaths or deaths in general. But as an expert in the field, I have to say that this is going to be a challenging time. This is a time to get your questions answered and learn about the vaccines. They're not in widespread availability yet, but in the next couple weeks, we'll have more and more out there, and we hope that people will take advantage of them.
What's the biggest surprise you've seen so far as you watch the data come in and you watch this alarming number of early pediatric deaths?
You know, I think for me the surprise is really the misinformation. There's so many myths out there. There's so many rumors. People are wondering if the vaccine's going to be forced on them. This is a voluntary vaccination program. We want parents to make decisions for their kids. This is about protecting your family based on the information that you get. So,
is there anyone it should be forced on? Healthcare workers, school workers? Is there anyone that should be mandatory in your view?
Well, from the federal perspective, we're not mandating the vaccine for anyone. There is one state, New York, and a number of hospitals that have put out mandates for their workers. The issue there is about protecting patients, and they've made the decision that they don't want their employees spreading flu to the vulnerable people who come in for care.
Let me ask you lastly, is your projection now better or worse than if we were having this conversation a month ago?
We're learning a lot more every day, but we are seeing this increase in disease, including deaths and intensive care unit courses. So it's still way early in the flu season for us to know what's going to happen. I think we need to stay informed, and I think people should take advantage of the vaccine when it's available to them.
Dr. N.